I have been wanting to make a video basically talking about my diabetes and living with my diabetes. I have type 1. And just maybe being able to give information or help others who have also wanted to learn about diabetes or recently got diagnosed or anything like that. I'm in my car, of course, with my child, and I wanted to do a more professional video where I sat down and there were lights, you know, how people do it. But I do a lot, and most of my life is dealing with my child, working, and just, I don't know, but I don't have time to sit and set up lights. So, but I still wanted to share my message and my story and maybe help others. I don't know if this will help, but maybe it'll be informative to maybe one person on this earth. Okay. Don't put another sticker on me, please. All right. So first I want to talk about my diagnosis. I was 30 when I was diagnosed with diabetes.
What?
I am not playing. And I was first diagnosed, so they told me I was pre-diabetic. My primary care physician, I went in, and I think my A1C was like a 5.8. And they told me I was pre-diabetic, and, you know, I needed to work on my diet and this and that. And I did what I needed to do. I worked on my diet, exercise, all of that stuff. And I mean, I was always tiny. I was always tiny. So I want to say I was like 105 when that was happening and everything. And I was going through that. And I kept going to the doctor. And unfortunately, my A1C kept getting higher. And they finally got to the point where I was above a 6. They put me on metformin, and so I started taking metformin. I was still trying to diet and exercise and do the things that I needed to do to get my diabetes down. So I continued to do what I needed to do to try to get my A1C down and everything, because with type 2 diabetes, it is about diet and exercise, and you can get your A1C down, and you can be, you know, not diabetic again. From what I know. Again, well, let me just make a disclaimer. I am not a doctor. I am not a healthcare professional. So don't take what I'm saying and being like, oh, you're wrong, and that's not a fact, and blah, blah, blah. This is specifically my experience about my diagnosis and how everything went down for me. And I'm hoping that it can simply help others. So I was doing what I was supposed to do, and things were not getting better for me. They were getting worse. So I would like wake up in the morning, and, you know, the doctor was like, you know, you need to do this, do that, you know, try to keep your intake low. I would drink like a hot chocolate and check my sugar, and my sugar was in the 300s. And I'd be like, crap, what do I need to do? And I'd try to go for a walk or something, and the best it would get was maybe a high 200s. And I was simply puzzled as to what I'm supposed to do, because no matter what kind of diet or exercise I had, nothing was working for me. My sugar was always high, to the point where I continued to have issues. Every 3 months, I would go back to my primary care physician, and my A1C would be higher and higher. Just nothing was getting better, to the point where my primary care physician prescribed me insulin, a Humulog, and he said take 5 units before every meal. I was doing that, and my sugars still were not good. My blood sugar was never good when I checked it. It was always above 200. And so one day, I started getting skinnier and skinnier. I lost a lot of weight. I was down to 89 pounds. I was down to 89 pounds. And I was doing everything I could to try to keep my sugars low. But I got down to 89 pounds, and I was so weak all the time, so tired all the time. It was really frustrating for me. And one day I went to the woman's doctor, I did a sample or whatever, a urine sample and everything. And they just sort of asked me some questions, and then they said, you need to go to the emergency room right now. And they said, literally, you're a nap away from being in a diabetic coma. And I was like, okay. So I went straight to the emergency room. Oh, back. So when they took my sugar at the OBGYN, my sugar was 512. So I went to the emergency room. When I got to the emergency room, I told them my sugar. When did this get back on me? I told them about my sugar and everything, and they immediately took me back and did some tests and everything, just ran all kinds of tests or whatever. They came back with my A1C, and my A1C was 12. And they told me, you know, they asked me, you know, was I type 1 or type 2? And I was like, I'm type 2. That's what my doctor has been telling me. And then they were just like, no, you're insulin dependent. You're definitely type 1. And I was like, I don't think so, because I know for a fact that's juvenile diabetes, and I'm 30 years old. Doesn't sound right. And I also had a little hint of that myself. I had a clue. I was like, you know, I don't really care what statistics say that, okay, kids get this or whatever. When my body was feeling the type of way, I knew I needed insulin. And I sort of told the doctor that I was like, I need insulin, but they kept me on metformin and everything. And so that was just that.